Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS. I welcome you all to our daily quiz for today. Before we begin, again a reminder, we are now on Telegram. You can join the group by clicking on the link given in the description of the video. If you're a part of this Telegram channel, you'll get all the latest current affairs updates about the UPSC examination from our side. Now let's begin with question number 1 on your screen. Consider the following statements with regards to electric vehicles. Number 1. Hydrogen is a source of energy and not an energy carrier. Second, a fuel cell converts chemical energy into electrical energy using oxidizing agents such as an oxidation reduction reaction. Third, since fuel cell vehicles run electricity to run, they are considered as EVs or electric vehicles. Which of these given statements is or are correct? It's a tricky question here. It's with regards to electric vehicles that are in the news. The correct answer here is B. 2 and 3 are correct. The first statement is wrong because hydrogen is actually an energy carrier and not a source of energy. Meaning that you cannot use hydrogen directly in any vehicle. You have to use hydrogen to convert it into some form of energy and then you can use it. So it is an energy carrier and not a source of energy. Second and the third statements with regards to EV or electric vehicles are absolutely correct. The reason why we are discussing this question is because recently we saw India's first indigenously developed hydrogen fuel cell technology bus that was unveiled last month, that is in August, with the fuel cell which uses hydrogen and air to generate electricity to power the bus. This is developed by CSIR, that is a Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, and Pune-based automotive software company called KPIT. This can be a watershed movement in the history of India and our country's endeavor to move towards electric vehicles, also using hydrogen vehicles mainly as a starting point. So far, most of the electric vehicles in India have mostly been focused on electric batteries. However, the hydrogen using vehicles are now a new technology that we are still experimenting with. Hydrogen's potential as a clean fuel source has a history of over 150 years, but it was only after 1970s that it was being considered seriously. Around the world, if you see some car makers such as Honda, Toyota, Hyundai, they have moved in this direction and they have been commercializing this hydrogen technology as a fuel very often. Next, question number 2. Consider the following statements with regards to rubber and rubber plantations. Number 1. Natural rubber is preferred over synthetic rubber due to its high tensile strength and vibration dampening properties along with tear resistance. Second, according to FAO Stat, that is Food and Agriculture Organization Corporate Statistical Database of 2019, Thailand is the largest producer of rubber in the world, followed by Indonesia, Malaysia, India, China, etc. Third, Karnataka is the largest producer of natural rubber in India. Which of these given statements is or are correct with regards to rubber? First and the second statements are correct about rubber plantation. Correct answer is A. The third statement is wrong because it is actually Kerala that is the largest producer of natural rubber in the country and not Karnataka. The first and the second statements are correct. As per the same report, India is at the 4th place when it comes to countries that produce the largest amount of natural rubber in the entire world. The reason why we're discussing this question is because of this article in today's newspaper, that is Kerala's rubber plantations seem to be in crisis right now. The price of natural rubber has come down drastically. There are about 12 lakh small scale farmers in Kerala that are dependent on rubber plantation in small or large scale. The price of latex has also fallen down below 120, while the rubber sheets have come down to 150 from the earlier price of 180, mainly because of the fears of recessions that we are seeing around the world because of the multiple international conflicts. Next, question number 3. Consider the following statements with regards to cooperatives in India. Number 1. The 97th Constitution Amendment Act 2011 added a new part 9B after 9A regarding the cooperatives working in India. Second, the word cooperatives was added after unions and associations in Article 19(1)(c) under Part 3 of the Constitution. Third, a new Article 39B was added in the Directive Principles of the State Policy regarding the promotion of cooperative societies. Which of these given statements is or are correct? The correct answer here would be A. 1 and 2 are correct. The third statement is wrong because this new article that was added with respect to the promotion of cooperative societies in the Directive Principles was Article 43B and not Article 39B. 39B is about the socialistic principles of the country. The reason why we are discussing this question is because of this interview in today's Hindu newspaper of a well-known agroeconomist, Mr. Sukhpal Singh, where he talks about how the cooperatives can actually work very well in favor of the farmers, and they are the only way to resist farm distress going forward in the country. He talks about how the center and the state governments both should give a push to the cooperatives and how in the long term they can actually help the farmers with a lot of things including management, marketing, expenditure patterns, etc. Next, question number 4. Consider the following statements with regards to Jallianwalabagh massacre. Number 1. Because of the massacre, the Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore renounced the Nobel Prize that he had received in 1913. Second, the then government of India ordered an investigation of the incident, the Hunter Commission, which in 1920 censured Dyer for his actions and ordered him to resign from the military. Third, the Rowlatt Act of 1919 was passed on the recommendation of the Sedition Committee chaired by Sir Sidney Rowlatt. Which of these given statements is or are correct? The correct answer to this question is second and third, that is B. The first statement is wrong because Rabindranath Tagore actually renounced his knighthood. That is the title of Sir that he was given from the British monarch. That is what he had renounced and not the Nobel Prize that he was given. That is why the first statement is wrong. He was Nobel laureate winner as well, but he did not return that prize. What he returned was a title of the knighthood. The reason why we are discussing this question is because of a new book that has come out, or a novel called The Crimson Spring. It is written by Mr. Navtej Sarna that starts with the story of the Jallianwalabagh massacre that took place on the day of Vaisakhi, that is 13th of April 1919. The book talks about the era of that time and the aftermath of the event that still exists in some parts of the country. Next is the previous year question from 2019. With reference to communication technologies, what is or are the differences between LTE and VoLTE? Number 1. LTE is commonly marketed as 3G and VoLTE is commonly marketed as advanced 3G. Second, the LTE is data only technology while VoLTE is voice only technology. Which of these given statements is or are correct? The correct answer is D. Both these statements are wrong. If you use 4G signal on your phone, you will see on the top of your phone, you will usually see these words VoLTE. This actually defines 4G technology and not advanced 3G. Also, VoLTE is not just voice-based technology, it is voice plus data. That is why both the given statements are wrong over here and the correct answer would be D. If you actually see LTE, which stands for long-term evolution, it's a series of 4G network standards that nations around the world agreed in 2008. VoLTE, as you actually see, is a version of 4G technology. Also, VoLTE is an upgraded version of the LTE protocol which is used by mobile phone networks. So VoLTE converts voice into data stream which is then transmitted using the data connection. VoLTE, as I said, is both for data and voice technology. Next, we have a fact of the day, and today we'll be discussing about the Kushiyara River Treaty. Now, this is in the news because when the Bangladesh Prime Minister was recently, just this week, was in India, the two sides, that is India and Bangladesh, signed multiple agreements, including the first water sharing agreement since 1996 Ganga River Agreement. This water sharing agreement has been signed on the Kushiyara River, that is why the river is now in the news. This is a distributary of the Barak River, which flows through Assam and then goes to Bangladesh. Now, this is a very, very important agreement for both the sides, considering that the relationship between the two sides depends largely on the water sharing agreements. Now, over the last century or so, the flow of the Barak River has changed in such a way that most of the river's water actually goes into the Kushiyara River only. Thus, the distribution of this river is extremely critical to how much water will Bangladesh get. As you know, Bangladesh side has been demanding that India signs a river sharing agreement on Teesta River, but that has not been done so far. Bangladesh intends to use the water of the Kushiyara River through Rahimpur Canal project in Sylhet. This will help the farmers across the Kushiyara River and also ensure that during the dry season specifically the farmers have enough water to undertake cultivation of crops. These river sharing agreements especially become important during the lean season when we don't have enough water coming in the form of monsoon. Now, India in the past has objected to the Rahimpur Canal for various reasons. The Kushiyara river sharing agreement, which was signed between the two sides, was made possible only because India has withdrawn its objection finally to the Kushiyara river's water flowing through the Rahimpur Canal. That also highlights how India has actually played the role of a bigger brother, taking back its objection and allowing Bangladesh to use this river water as and when they want. However, the Tisa River Agreement still does not remain in the near sight of any of these two nations, since the Tisa River involves the state of West Bengal as well, and the state of West Bengal and the ministers of West Bengal are not in agreement of signing this particular agreement with Bangladesh. That is why, as an alternative, the two sides have zeroed it on the Kushiyara River Treaty for now. This is it for today's daily quiz video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day ahead.